Greet your neighbor. Hi, John. Today's invitation will be given by Beth Weaver.
Let us pray. Thank you, Father, for the gift of Rotary and for each other. Bless this food and fellowship to nourish our bodies and our minds. May we ever be mindful of those in need. When we are able, help us to provide food to the hungry, to heal the wounds of hatred with love, comfort those in sorrow, and bring peace to those living in areas of unrest. We pray to your glory. Amen.
Welcome. It's great to see all of you today. I would like to mention that we have a member that's leaving, and this is her last meeting. And I would like Becky, I'd like to recognize Becky for all her work here in Rotary. If we could give her a hand after. Keeping the IT running here is near the top of the priority list for me. Okay. And between Cheryl and Becky, they've done a great job. They're breaking in a new person, Dan Starcher. Now, I'm not sure, he's just a rookie, so we'll have to see how that works out. All right, on the screen is our item for this week. I'm sure you all have seen those or know what they look like. Those are what we call dog tags. Unofficially, they're called identification tags, and they came about during the Civil War because soldiers were afraid no one would be able to identify them if they died. Some marked their clothing with stencils or pinned on paper tags. The U.S. government soon realized the value of identification, as half the dead could not be identified in the Civil War. The first official ID or dog tag started in 1906. Sure, it was the Marines, Matt. By 1917, all combat troops were wearing dog tags. The origin of the name dog tags came from World War I draftees who felt that they were treated worse than dogs, and in protest began calling their identification tags dog tags. Now you know. Secretary and the Secretary's report.
Thank you, President Gregg. It's a pleasure to welcome a new member, Ron Wells. If you could please come forward, and President Gregg will give you your red badge. Rob is the Executive Director of the Wayne County Convention and Visitors Bureau and was proposed by Marty Starkey. He was on Zoom today. Thank you and welcome. Depending on when you came in today, you saw the plastic bag hills outside, so you've responded very well. Ken assures with that amount, we have reached our goal, so we will get our bench. So thank you to Ken and all of you who brought in those plastic bags for recycling. We will continue to collect those, but the March 31st was our date to reach the 500 pounds for the bench. So again, thank you. It's a pleasure to welcome several guests, and we will start with President Gregg.
I have three guests here today. First, Rich and Sue Korfman, if you'd stand up. Rich is the retired Deputy Director of the Wayne Board of Elections, and Sue is recently retired from Smuckers. And last but not least, Mr. David Handworth, the Mayor of the City of Oakdale. And I forgot to mention, Rich is the President of the Orville Rotary. And Dave and I went over there a couple of weeks ago to in our reciprocal visits.
Don Noble.
Phil Graham, stand up. Phil is a past Rail Trails board member, but he's currently a Wayne County Park District board.
We have the traveling microphone and we'll start with you and Izumi. I think you have updates for us.
Afternoon, everyone. I read both family last weekend, and I learned that my friend are taking that income. And I had a first game yesterday. It was a good game, and we won. And I have a couple games this week, so I'm excited for me. I want to visit my family this weekend, but later before that, we had our supplements for parents. I was there with colleagues at Marina, and then after that, on Saturday I with my family. I said the learning and David and Laura is really okay. It's really fun. Like I had really fun that I had done on Saturday. I would perform at the Fine Arts Festival at school with on the improv comedy. I was really nervous, but it turned out really good. I didn't thought that it would turn out that good, but it was really fun.
Our next guests are over here at this table, and while you're making your way over there, I will say, I think Izumi, your favorite player is Shohei Ohtani, is that right? And I think he did very well at World Baseball Classic, so I appreciate you didn't rub it in. But yes, they beat the United States in the World Baseball Classic, so congratulations to Japan.
I guess, Josh, you on?
Yeah.
Josh, it's spoken with West Conditions, like their speaker.
And Dr. Miller has a guest.
Yes, today.
Thank you, President Griffin.
All right, well, we got a lot of guests here today. That's fantastic. Well, at this time, would Abby Van Tine, advisor to the Norway FFA, please come forward with her group to make their presentation.
My name is Abby Van Tine. I am one of the FFA advisors and agricultural teachers at Norway High School. And I have some students here today that are going to give you a presentation. We are participating in the agricultural issues competition for the first time ever this year. And as a part of that process, before we go to the state contest at the end of April, we have to present our issue to 5 different groups at the local level. So you all are our second presentation that we will be giving. So don't easy on us. We're still fine tuning some pieces. And we will actually have our third presentation later this afternoon. So we're doing a double whammy today, knocking them out of the park. But the group here today, they are going to be presenting our issue this year is manure management, because it's a very prominent issue that is in Wayne County. And the purpose of this contest is to not be for or against the issue. You have to share both the pros and the cons of the issue to show both sides and kind of remain non-biased with that. So I'm going to let the team here introduce themselves. They're going to say their names and then the role that they are playing in their little skit that they have prepared.
I'm Olivia, and I'm the realtor. I'm Ashley, and I'm the EPA worker. I'm Renana, and I'm the mother. I'm Tyra, I'm the assistant to the moderator. I'm Brianna, and I'm the kid. I'm Morgan, and I'm the farmer.
They're going to set it up for a second. So while they're setting it up, I can kind of give a summary of what they're doing. They have a presentation ready to go where the mom and the daughter are getting ready to have a grad party, and the farmer next door is spreading their manure, which we all know is not that. So the mother and daughter approach the farmer, and the farmer says, "I need to do this for my job." So then they take a visit to Ohio EPA to learn a little bit about manure management and how this can make it work. in Wayne County. We haven't had a whole lot of, but I would. It worked out. And we do have to bring our own props to the contest in Columbus, so this is gonna be a lot of fun, the Holland School Band. All right. Yes, and I like to have a problem with I don't know. Hey, there's you now. You. And I need my daughter's graduation for 2 weeks. I'm thinking not graduating. Sorry, we'll have to see what we can do, but no promises. It's supposed to be 7 inches next week. While the lightning helps incorporate a surface applied manure over 1/2 inch of precipitation within a 24-hour period will cause runoff, which doesn't leave me much room to get my fertilizer spread. We have to get this manure spread as soon as possible so there's no runoff. Ohio is not allowed manure to be spread when the ground is snow covered, frozen, and saturated by rainfall in the top 2 inches of soil. For many farmers, raw manure is really the most affordable and natural soil and then available. Well, I heard you're not allowed to spend money on water systems. Here's like I plan on for people to swim and fish. Did you know that around 40% of lakes and rivers in the United States are polluted for 15 minutes? I don't want my farm to be as out of increase in nitrate over the groundwater and cause contamination and circulation surface water. Normal nitrate that levels in ponds are 0.006 but manure contamination can increase to 0.6 ppm. That can kill fish in a pond. If all the fishing are contact, no one will be able to fish. I don't have to sign. According to the University of Nebraska, manure can't be spread within 1 foot of flow passage from wells and springs regardless of the type of the operation. So actually, I can spread it here. I follow these rules so none of the manure I spread is end within any water. So we know manure runoff in your pond and all your fish will live because I'm following these rules. I don't even know what you're talking about. I found many times soil and water precipitate that too much manure can cause a lot of it. Ponds and natural wetlands develop on the one foods, but there's too much manure. The bacteria can so much oxygen that they're running out of water. All my fish died because of you. Well, it doesn't even matter. I have the right to farm. It doesn't make it matter. I've never heard that law. Also, are you putting too much on your field? My parents have a organic farm. It's only spread 700 gallons on her field. Oh, you're doing way more than that. Well, according to Pennsylvania State University, I'm allowed to spread 5,000 gallons per acre or 20 tons per acre. I currently only spread 4,000 gallons, so I'm fine. Here in Wayne County, there are over 13,000 cows, and that doesn't even include bulls, heifers, calves, steers, or dry cows. A survey was done at the Ohio State University, and the survey showed that 46% of farmers in Wayne County have less than 6 months of storage of solid manure, and 56% have less than 6 months storage of liquid manure. Whatever, I'm going to be taking the next kind of back straight and care about the fire. Wow, what a great interaction. Look at the farm who's trying to do about that right here. The neighbor was something that was all good. There's nothing you can make. These farmers, they can do whatever they want.
What was the detail? Look at something. What is it? It's not that big of a deal. Yes, it is, it's sort of a very fair application for you. What do you mean? Farmers right in the right side of the house, and we don't want to lot of them. We have to farm the house right in the middle, and he said we can do whatever. Only 10.1% of rain falls on fields and other natural areas. But farming supply within our population will work in our life. Yeah, to me, that's some random right of farm all night. He didn't actually make that up. Like his mother's cigar, there are people who don't know the right on tap. This is why it's important to educate and understand people rather than the anger of the people. Very safe and questions very okay, I'll put this in way over there. Okay, well, that's still doesn't mean you can figure in my writing all the learners in my mom. There are certain restrictions that come to the work study, like not being able to start on broken ground when the rates in the forecast. If she isn't following those restrictions, then I can do something about that. For example, the manure is being spread in the south-west forecast of the or the Department of Energy Federal Commission Convention Act 1990, Federal Commission Convention, as a federal law in the United States. These data are developed by the Commission Wait, are you guys talking about all this noise now? I think so. New houses for neighborhood. What do you mean? Then I am trying to sell a house with often the virus that are infected by and look like the government is found by good. Those that get US on and this often turns into the life even when you can find out house. The university of involved food, roughly half of all neighbors complaints of livestock abuse originating from home applications and more. Exactly. I'm not the only one. I bet there's multiple neighbors complaining about the same thing. One of my clients would not be able to get on my own house and just go with the smell and fear of marriage into their home. I'm also seeing that when they are close to find when wind is down, then the near falling to the oil. The smell gets a lot much stronger than anything else. The Ohio Department of Agriculture regulations have certain limits on the amount of phosphorus, nitrogen, and liquid applied depending on the area. They also do inspections to ensure no manure may not because one for natural water. Farmers are required to follow the rules of the state in this way. Farmers are sure to follow the regulations to look at the public. Ohio laws are written in their roads into the outfield, and then the one that found how to start out when the one who is put it down to the regular area to certify life and started to anything about responding to farmers learning and during my graduation time. Is there anything we can do to try to stop it or at least spread somewhere else? Like the farmer talked about earlier, when you have like farm all around, what's that? The right to farm law, also referred to as the Farmland Preservation Act, protects the right of farmers as long as they follow the regulations. The landowner must be involved in an agricultural district, must have 10 acres or more in order for the landowner to protect and develop the community surrounding. Right to farm is like a new in place by those within parts. What are these regulations? Are they allowed to even further around into my farms? The ODA regulations require crop yield and irrigation to determine nutrient needs, setbacks from streams and wells, limitations on amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and liquid supply, weather predictions, contamination of soil conditions for crops, earthworm burrows, and plants with pathways to tile blowout in the field, monitoring of tile outlets during and after application, and restrictions against runoff on the winter. These regulations are important for the farmers to follow because they will be profitable and healthy for the environment. The ODA also requires soil and mineral tests to test the soil effectively. Requires everything from any special individual or every 2 years.
That makes sense. I guess you're around, you have to find the other concepts to do how to work out. I still don't know how to do this. Wow, this is all interesting. Can you got any documents I could give you so I can show them the plans from there on the market for a new house? Congratulations. Have you tried talking to the farmers in a civil manner and not mutual agreement? Well, farmers are the people who make the farm off, it's so great, but it's 7 years on the ground. There is a need to find the farmer. I guess you can try out the appropriate, this part of how, I would like to apologize for being so mad to her.
It's okay, it's my fault too, I shouldn't have got so mad.
I ended up talking to some people at the beginning, or how her nurse lady was for this person. I didn't know that they use that for future, no one knows, on space and natural water.
Yes, by putting manure on the field, I'm able to use my farm animal waste to improve soil and water. Manure brings nutrients to make the earth and gives solid organic matter, which in turn improves the soil quality. I also need to spread my manure to keep my space sustainable. In order to keep up with the amount of manure my farm animals produce, we need an alternative method to dispose of it, and this is a beneficial way. 15.8 million acres, or 5% of U.S. cropland, is covered with livestock manure. 80 to 90% of our farmers within this community also spread manure.
There's something to mark out, and it's kind of a price, and it's very much. You appreciate the voice for me at that time.
Actually, I'm in the process of switching over to injecting manure, which will reduce the smell and reduce the chewing runoff. According to Michigan State University, injecting manure reduces the loss of nitrogen, which has a direct impact on the fertilizer. What's the difference between injecting and certifying? When doing surface applied manure, it's highly recommended to incorporate it the same day. Immediate incorporation retains most nitrogen, reduces odor, and reduces the risk of runoff. Same-day incorporation is more common, whether it's hot. When injecting manure, farmers don't have to incorporate it. It still has all the benefits of surface application while saving time.
Wow, that's so great. Was there any way you could win for after the price?
Okay, that'll work. When's the party?
Next Saturday, 2001.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for having me. Is anybody have any questions?
Well, thank you and good luck this afternoon on your next presentation. And you guys are welcome to stay and hear the. Well, welcome to all our guests, Rich and Sue and Dave and Josh and Phil. And we hope you enjoy the program. At this time, our speaker will be introduced by Don Nolan.
Thank you, President Greg. Tom Bilski is president of the Ohio to Erie Trail Fund, where he oversees the strategic direction and long-term goals of the Ohio to Erie Trail. As a Knox County resident, he serves as treasurer of the Friends of the Heart of Ohio Trail. Prior to his retirement, Tom spent 41 years as an information technologist, and the last 30 of those years were spent in data and information management, where he designed and managed corporate data architecture and strategy. He retired in 2017 from the West Coast Group. Touring the world, both near and far, with a bicycle is his source of happiness. Tom advocates cycling and trails for people of all ages, shapes, sizes, and abilities. His mantra is to get out and explore the world at the speed of a bike. He currently resides on a farm outside of Mount Vernon. So please give a warm Worcester Rotary welcome to Tom as he gives us an update on the Ohio Erie Trail.
Thank you, Don, and thank you to Worcester Area Rotary for having me do some trail talk for you. So as Don said, I am president of the Ohio Erie Trail, and let me see if I know how to advance the slide here. Yes, and a little bit about the trail. The trail has always been publicized as 326 miles, and what's happening is we are rapidly completing the trail. And as we go the direct route, mostly of railroads, the mileage shrinks. So this year we went down to 324.5 miles. And what's unique about this trail, it's 23 trails that span the state from the Ohio River and Cincinnati riverfront to Lake Erie on the Cleveland lakefront. It's almost all trails now, 90%. That's pretty significant when you look at rail trails and trail networks. It is pretty amazing. And you'll see that we connect the major cities. And what's nice about this trail, it passes through all demographics of Ohio, rural and urban and suburban and small town. A little bit of history about the trail is trails started to come into prominence when the government passed the National Rail System Act. And that's something called rail banking, where many trails were disappearing, many rails were disappearing, and they went into this program where they would be preserved for future use, possibly be recalled. That didn't happen to us, as you know, in Wayne County here. But anyway, what happened was Arlo was the director and Ed Honton was a Franklin County engineer. And they looked at a map of Ohio and they saw that we had this large trail, the Great Miami, the Little Miami River Trail that went from Cincinnati to Springfield. We also had the Ohio and Erie Canal Towpath Road going from Cleveland to New Philadelphia. And so it seemed logical. Somehow we should be able to connect those. So they worked with the state of Ohio. And basically Ed Honton was on a committee with the state of Ohio, and they convinced the government, and this was under, I believe, Governor Voinovich. They undertook a feasibility study to build this trail. And as soon as they did that, they realized they needed money to build this trail, right? Hence, if you look at the nonprofit I work for, it's the Ohio Erie Trail Fund. A lot of people think it's a Ohio Erie Trail, but it's fun because our primary focus has been and still continues to be to help fund trails. And back in that days, we were the people that fund and help build trails. So you'll see that I found this some old minutes of the organization. The first miles of trails were built in Greene, Madison, Tuscarora County. Well, those totaled up to only 20 miles. So it's a long way to get to 326 miles. So what happened was we began to transform into a different type of organization. We had a vision of a long trail across the state, and we knew the importance of connecting trails. So we turned this over to local folks like Rails to Trails of Wayne County, Holmes County Trail. And we saw that they felt they needed a local trail, but we became sort of an advisor. We also tend to do a lot of seed money today. That's some of our money used to seed these projects and get them going. And that's really important. And also what I wanted to mention in this presentation, that grants are very important to this organization, getting trails built everywhere. And those grants come in a variety of ways. You may have nonprofits in this area. You may have organizations that are working, but it's mostly coming from government funding. Some of the main ones I listed here: Transportation Alternative Program, which is TAP. That's a federal government program to build alternative transportation. Trails are recipients of that. Many of the trails on the Ohio Erie Trail were built with that. The next one, Clean Ohio Fund. That is the money in the state of Ohio that I can almost tell you just about every trail in our network uses Clean Ohio funds. The state and the state legislature right now is very committed to trails. Next is the American Rescue Plan. That's better known as the infrastructure plan. It just got passed a few years ago. RAISE is I believe, 100% match, and Don will talk about RAISE and its impact here in Wayne County after me. And Appalachian Community Grant is a federal fund that is administered by the state, and the state of Ohio did this to revitalize 32 Appalachian communities, and trails and alternative transportation fit into that. And the Holmes County Trail is currently looking at a Appalachian community fund to bridge their gap in southern Holmes County. So where's the trail at now? We're 90% complete. That's great. What's also happened is we're joining with Greater Trail Networks. The Great American Rail Trail is going to span from Washington State to Washington, D.C. It will use our trail from Xenia to Clinton. So passing right through your Heartland Trail is the Great American Rail Trail. Also, US Bicycle Route 21, that's something very significant. We are Bicycle Route 1, which is a state bicycle route, but we were able to secure Bicycle Route 21 designation, and that is a national route that goes from Atlanta to Erie, Pennsylvania, I believe. And finally, the Underground Railroad is a historical type route, and it goes from Mobile, Alabama to somewhere in Ontario on the other side of the lake. Anyway, all of this, all of these trails, which Ohio Erie Trails incorporated in, means that we're becoming more aware. We're seeing commercial bicycle tours. I'll give you some statistics. About 3 of the major bicycle tours called the Ohio Erie Trail on their tour catalogs in 2019. That number went up to 9 in 2022, and this year there's 17. That's pretty amazing. Think about that. That's almost a 6-fold increase in commercial tours. And those are tours generally maybe on the small side of 12 people up to about 40 to 50 people. And what's happened to our organization? We support that. We build websites, we build map sets. I brought a map set here if you'd like to see it later on. We do all kind of online resources. That's fun. So what was our next logical step? So we looked to other trails that were a little bit ahead of us. And there's a concept out there called trail towns, and that was developed in Pennsylvania Allegheny Passage. That is another long distance trail that goes from Pittsburgh to Cumberland, Maryland on the Banff Railroad. And basically the trail town is part of a revitalization of the Steel Valley. And what it basically does, looks at very creative ways to help communities leverage a trail. So it sets these criteria of how to be welcoming to people. It also helps fund. They linked up with Pennsylvania Department of Commerce, interest, no interest loans. They attracted businesses that trails will need, bike shop, so forth. So we jumped on that thing with one of the architects who had worked 8 years in the trail towns in Pennsylvania. We employed that individual. Her name was Amy Camp, and she held a series of webinars and online workshops. So we wanted to gauge the interest in the state of Ohio. And there was interest, a lot of interest actually. And we caught the eyes of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Corporation and Commission. And so that is basically the 17 counties in Central Ohio. It's the regional planning. And they thought it was a great idea. So the Ohio to Erie Trail, the Rails and Trails Conservancy, and Mid-Ohio Regional Planning put forth a request for a grant. And we got a grant, secured a grant from the Columbus Foundation. And we undertook an effort in 2022 to take a look at what tourism impact, the livability, the health and welfare of people. And a very, very nice document came out. And if you're interested in something like that, I can point to everything that the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning does. They kind of put out on the web to be shared. And so work continues on the Ohio Erie Trail to figure out how we're going to deploy so where are we going on the Ohio Erie Trail? I'll I'd like to know that too, as the president, closing the gap. We're really, really excited to take the 17 miles of roads here in Wayne County and turn them into a trail. We would love to see that trail from Fredericksburg to Clinton. And I know Don and the Rails to Trails guy in Wayne County here are really working hard on that, and I'm really happy for that. One thing we realize we need to do is people need to be aware that this just isn't a bicycle trail. This just isn't somewhere where someone goes out and recreates. There's real benefits to it. You know, towns that embrace this, and I ask you to look, if you look at on that Great Allegheny Passage in towns like Connellsville, Ohio, and Confluence are prime examples. But in Ohio, we already have good examples. We have towns like Xenia, we have towns like Loveland, Mount Vernon, even Canal Fulton is doing a wonderful job. So what we want to do is we want people to know that this trail helps local people in their health and wellness, and it brings people to your doorsteps. And that's our priorities. We're going to move this trail town effort forward. Improving the trail. What you need to know, and this is what everybody needs to know, is I gave you all those grants up front, how to build a trail, but guess what? They don't maintain the trail. As soon as the trail is built, it gets turned over to the managing entity, most likely a lot of times county park districts. And so 20-year-old trails need repaved, they need to resurface. So we're working with the state. There's a trail caucus in the state legislature. We work with them in the Rails and Trails Conservancy. We're hoping to expand something like the Clean Ohio Fund to maintain trails, to keep them in good shape. So we're continuing to evolve all of our resources. We completely redesigned our website not quite a year ago. We made it very visitor centric. And so if you're on the trail, our map, we have an interactive map that you can bring it up and where you're at, and you can try to get back on course. This will use Google Maps for you and help you get on course. We have a lot of resources. We've set up business partners and so forth. So we're spending a lot of time on that. The commercial bike tourism, I can't overestimate how important that is. We can't count the number of people on our trail, obviously, but we do know that people look for these commercial tours and where they go, and they may not want to pay the price. By the way, the price of these tours are somewhere, I averaged about somewhere around $2,500 is what people pay to go on these tours for a week. So we want to work with them. And we have a segment of that industry that we haven't targeted, which is like 3 days, 4 days, so the weekend. So if somebody went to Xenia, Ohio, they could bike 3 or 4 days in many different directions. We could do it at Knox County, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. So we want to do that. And more than ever, we're committed to regional partners like the folks in the Rails, the Trails of Wayne County. So I encourage you to head on over to the trail. Your trailhead right now is Fredericksburg to the south, and our trail right now goes through some beautiful Amish country roads to Apple Creek, and then ventures over out to Dalton, where it catches the Sippo Valley Trail. But I really encourage you to get on the trail. I have our website here, Facebook page, YouTube channel. We've produced a lot of videos recently. We're doing a lot of webinars. That happened during the pandemic. We found out people really like webinars, and the information link is there, and my email's there. So I thank you for the time that you gave me today, and I'll turn it over to Don to speak a little bit about the trails here.
All right. Thank you, Tom. And while mine's coming up, I thought it'd be a perfect time to give you an update. It's been a couple of years since I've talked about the Rails and Trails of Wayne County. And yeah, we have a significant piece of the Ohio Erie Trail that's missing. Well, I say missing. I mean, it's not on a rail trail, it's on a road route right now. But I thought I could give you an update of what we're doing. Have some exciting news and go from there. Oh, click. Well, that's still Tom's. Okay. Yeah, that one. There we go. There we go, okay. So here's a map of Wayne County, our trails, it's in the brochure on the tables. Got my little arrow, yeah, okay. So the black lines are all completed trails. We're really concentrating our efforts, relative to Wayne County, for the Heartland Trail over here between Orville, Marshallville, and Clinton. We have part of it done in this little, if I'm doing a little mousing thing, we closed the gap. We'll talk more about that here in a minute, but from Orville to just beyond to Ford Road is what we're trying to almost complete it. I'll give you more update. But again, this map is in your on those brochures on your table. So the trail system, again, you saw in Ohio, we're part of much something bigger here than Wayne County. The trails are all over the United States. And I thought I'd first give you, Tom alluded to the Great American Rail Trail, the GART. And this is maybe from, you know, they always say 30,000 feet. Let's go up even higher to the International Space Station, all right? So looking at the United States, again, the Great American Rail Trail goes from Washington, D.C. all the way to Washington State. And it's like 51 or 2% completed. And it's coming right through Worcester, or not, Wayne County and Ohio, and on the Ohio Erie Trail. And again, here's that section that Tom alluded to, the section of the Great American Rail Trail that goes from the east side of Ohio to the west side. And it comes right through Wayne County. There's a little, you see that box because it's not, there's no trail. All the rest of the green area is all trail currently. And just a shout out to the Warrior Expedition. This is a nonprofit group that takes veterans from the different armed services and tries to reacclimate them into society. And this is going to be the third year that they have traveled the Great American Rail Trail from DC to Washington. And we put them up in the hotel over there in Orville, and they do the whole thing. I mean, it's amazing. You know, there's 4 or 5 guys and girls, and they're starting, I think, May 16th in DC, and then we're going to welcome them whenever they get here, probably about 2 weeks later. So there's Sue and Rich helping them out last year. So, but great group of people. They're amazing group of guys and girls. And then again, these trails they're all part of this internet system. The industrial heartland trails, not that we're exactly a part of it, you can see, but there's all these trail internet networks between Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Parkersburg, Erie, and they're continuing to build these trails. So it's not just Wayne County. There's a huge amount of trails all over that we connect to. The latest developments, let's see. So Tom alluded to, the RAISE grant, working with Scott Miller at the Wayne County Engineer's Office and the Holmes County Engineer. We just applied for almost a $25 million grant through the RAISE process. We're just over $11 million for rail trail and bike lanes, and we're gonna have our share, but they're also for, I think the next slide is still Amish buggy lanes too. So it's not just rail trail, but project components: 3.5 miles of trail, 2.5 miles of bike lanes, 5.75 miles of buggy and bike lanes, some solar EV chargers, and buggy direction and detection improvements. Like we're coming up over a hill, there's different technologies you can put in for those. So this grant, we're hoping to get we're going north from Fredericksburg to Albuquerque. That's our first phase. We hope to get monies to put the trail in there, either where the trail is. It's all in private ownership. So we've got our tasks ahead of us, but hopefully working with some of those landowners, we know some of them are very favorable to trails, and we can hopefully have some money and buy the right of way or an easement or something like that. Well, that's the deadline was the end of February, so hopefully in the next couple of months we should know if we received it or not. But we're excited. I never thought we'd be able to apply for something like that until this grant came along. Here's the map of it's kind of hard to see probably, but different color codes for the trails, the buggy lanes over in Kidron area, Kidron Road, and our trail. And as I alluded to, our current focus is closing the gap over there in Orville for the Heartland Trail. It's a 1.6 mile gap between Allen Avenue and in Orville and Ford Road. And we're about $45,000 left to go to raise the $1.2 million the full project will cost. So we're almost there. And after we close the gap, our next task or focus is the 1.1 miles from Marshallville to Coal Bank Road. And there's some dollar amounts for those, and we're participating in the AMATs and hopefully ODOT. And so do we have any geologists in the, or who took a geology class in college or something, or want to be geologists like me? My brother's a geologist. But anyway, or if you took the Grand Canyon trip with Doug Druschel, and you talk about the great unconformity. Well, there's an unconformity over there in Marshallville, and they call it the Rockies. This is a rocky section. And it's a section where the Mississippi and Pennsylvania systems are butting up against each other. You kind of see, there's a gentleman right there, to give you that size, there's a 6-foot gentleman right here. And that's still visible, and I'll show you in the next page. But anyway, there's the two rock system where there's several millions of years of rock missing. It's just gone. So, and there it is today. But our group took some volunteers, and we were trying to get the old earth and stuff off it so you can see the unconformity. And there's what they call the Rockies, probably in the spring or fall. And that's getting close to, I think, Black Diamond Road. That's the current trail state right now. It's open. You can use it. I wouldn't, take a street bike on it, but you can hike it or mountain bike it. It's totally open to the public. So, any questions for me or Tom regarding the Wayne County trails or the Ohio Erie Trail?
Is there a substantial relationship in what's happening with the change in improving walking safety in Wayne and Holmes County, interaction between that and rails and trails?
Yes, we can tell you when we want to continue the Holmes County or the trail. We call it the Heartland Trail from Fredericksburg to Apple Creek to Orville and then on to Clinton. But those sections between Fredericksburg, Apple Creek to Orville, we want to have the same as Holmes County and have a separate bike or buggy lane for the buggies and then a separate lane for the bikers, walkers, whatever. So yes, we definitely want to include them. And in this RAISE grant, it includes that, but also, again, there's some buggy lanes along the side of the roads that will incorporate in that grant. So yeah, buggy safety, all that is part of our plan, long-term plan. Oh.
If that works. The old rail, are those privately owned now or still by the rail company? Did you buy those from the rail companies then?
If we can, yes. Let me go back in time a little bit. The section from Orville to Clinton was owned by Norfolk Southern until we bought it in 2012. We Rails and Trails in Wayne County. Now the section, yes, between south of Orville to Fredericksburg, that's all in private ownership. The railroad abandoned it after the '69 flood, and there's like 33 or so private landowners. We've been in contact with them over the years, but really never had any money to pursue that. And our focus is, and it has been, from Orville to Clinton. We want to get that section done before we start going south. But yeah, we want to work with those landowners. If they're not amenable, we have to go on the road, and that's fine. We'll do what we have to. But yeah, we want to close that gap and get as many miles or feet of trail off the road as we can.
Well, thank you. I think it's very timely we have the mayor of Warville here, since everything seems to be revolving around Warville and this trail. You aren't holding it up, are you, Dave? Anyway, Abby, could you come up? Don't sit down. An appreciation for your time today, and I'd like to present you with a rendition of the rotary wheel with the four-way test on the back made by students at the Village Network.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate the two programs today. We are able to work in the students, which I think was important. I apologize if the microphone wasn't loud enough, but we'll have to work on that. A lot of it has to do with how far you talk away from the speaker. You'll notice I'm almost swallowing it because that's the only way you can really hear. And that the traveling microphone is worse. Okay, so we're going to have a training class on how to use the microphone. Well, we appreciate all our guests today. We hope you guys can come back again. Next week's program will be a little bit more on land, and we'll have Andy McDowell, which is the Vice President of Western Field Operations for the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. And he will be here to talk to us about what they're doing, and I think that should be pretty interesting. So at this time, you guys have a safe week, and we stand adjourned.